Good morning and welcome back to the channel. I have come over to the former Clark Air Base, which is now the Clark Freeport Zone. I'm going to have a walk around and see what's changed, see what hasn't, and perhaps get into some of the history. It looks like there is a market set up here. That wasn't here when I was last here, which was, well, a while ago. So it looks like they're having an evening market. Let's see if I can ask this guard. Hi sir, how are you doing?
Morning, sir.
I was just wondering, are they having a market here in the evening? Like when are these food stalls?
We open weekend.
On the weekend, is it?
Saturday and Sunday.
All day or?
Open within 2 o'clock until 10 o'clock in the evening.
Okay, I see. So in the afternoon through to evening. And will this bit also have food stalls or?
Oh yes.
Oh, cool.
This one.
So Saturday and Sunday?
Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah. Okay. How are you doing? All right?
Okay.
Yeah. Are you on night shift or day shift?
Night shift.
Night shift. So you finish soon,
So
is
I'm
it?
going to
Any minute,
going
is
out
it?
now.
Ah, okay.
My reliever is coming.
Brilliant. Okay. Well, have a good day then. I'll see you around. Cheers. Okay, so they got these food stalls open on the weekend. That was a nice chat to the security guard. So he's on his night shift. I won't hold him up. He must be exhausted. Yeah, let's just have a quick peek behind here at what's going on. The early morning joggers are out in full force. I've already seen many of them. Yeah, got walkers, joggers. You can see the mountains in the background. It's so beautiful. I'm not sure if you can see on camera, and I'm not going to zoom in, but you can see. I think that's a riot, you know, in the distance there. Yeah, it's very peaceful, so quiet over here. And you know, as soon as you come in the Clark Freeport Zone and you've lived in Anglers a bit, you can instantly notice, right, this area is different. It seems more organised. There's less litter around. It's a bit more peaceful. I suppose affluence is the word. Less densely populated, slightly more affluent. And if you don't know the history, you wouldn't understand why. So when you look around the parade grounds, which has been part of the former US Air Base here for over a century. And I think this particular area has not really changed since the turn of the 20th century when Fort Stotzenburg was established. And this area, well, I say it hasn't changed. I mean, this area was, I think, designated a kind of parade ground since then for marches and parades. Correct me if I'm wrong. I was doing a bit of research on the area yesterday. And prior to that, I didn't know a huge deal about it, so do correct me if I'm wrong. I'm wondering, where should we go? I think I might walk down this side because there's a few markets and shops and things. So here is the main market area over here. I'll just give that a peek. Obviously it's not open at this time, and I'm not sure if it opens every day. Maybe we got the information on one of the signs. Doesn't look like it's that one. Yeah, this place gets pretty lively in the evening. Not 100% sure if it's every evening, but it probably would be after about 5 p.m. if it is on a day that it's open. Definitely will be on the weekend. Yeah, different local cuisine, international cuisines, snacks. I love this area for the trees that, yeah, these trees have been here forever. Beautiful trees, lovely to be out in nature. It's clean, it's tidy, and it's organised. I just walked into a bloody spider's web. Hopefully there was no spider on that. Looks like there's some parking out the back. It doesn't look like it's in use. I love those sort of areas that are sort of old and unused and sort of become like jungle. It really doesn't look like that's been in use, but I could be wrong. It's like an abandoned sort of open lot. Again, I could be wrong because there is a big sign that says straight ahead down there. So I really wanted to get into a bit of the history whilst I was here. And it's hard to believe when you look around that this was one of the sites of one of the opening battles of the Pacific War. And what surprised me was I'd heard about Pearl Harbor. I mean, everyone's heard of Pearl Harbor, right? It's a huge event in history. But I didn't realize how significant this area and how closely linked this was to Pearl Harbor. Yeah, the more I researched, the more I realized that it did have close links to Pearl Harbor. It was one of Japan's very first objectives in the Pacific War. So when Japan struck Pearl Harbor, they had also planned to strike other areas in the Pacific, and this was one of the key bases in the Pacific that they were after. So they were after Hawaii to destroy or cripple the US Navy, and then this was one of the largest air bases outside of the US and a huge strategic point within the Pacific. So they'd also simultaneously planned to strike Clark Air Base to cripple the Air Force. And that's pretty much what happened. So the only difference was there was a few hours difference between when they struck Pearl Harbor and when they struck Clark Air Base. So it was part of that Japanese coordinated strike. I think it was the 8th of December in 1941 when the Japanese bombers and pilots flew over Clark Air Base and destroyed, I think, around a large amount of America's air fleet. So this place here is not only like a place where people come and walk around, have picnics and enjoy themselves, but if we go back in history, it was a huge event happened here during the Second World War. Closely linked with Pearl Harbor. What's interesting is if you've got these beautiful barn-type American-style buildings that are lining the edge of parade grounds. Here's one. I think that's a steakhouse now. And I was quite surprised to learn that they've been here since the turn of the century. They're not necessarily post Second World War, which is what I found out. They've been here longer than the Second World War. And I think they were originally designed as sort of officers' housing. Here's another one. This is Cafe Mesa, or Misa. I've had a coffee in there before. It was alright. Yeah, so these buildings are businesses now, but beautiful architecture. And you just got a sense of America and a sense of history when you look at them. I wonder which part of America has that same style. Might be worth researching. Oh look, something going on in the middle. It's like they're building. I wonder if we can go down and find out. That's good. I'm not sure if they want me to cross there. Better go down this way. Yeah, it's about just after 6 a.m. There are a lot of people out. I think everyone wants to catch that early morning chill. As soon as it gets past sort of 8 o'clock, it's already pretty hot. I'm just curious what they're building here, so I thought I'd take a walk and see if they got a picture of it. Ah, okay. It looks like they're putting in a fountain of some kind. Dancing lights. That makes sense. They put something like that, a sort of square in the middle. It shouldn't take too long then. So yeah, just after midday on the 8th of December 1941, the Japanese finally arrived here. I think they flew over central Luzon since they were flying out of the Taiwanese air base, what is now Taiwan. And within minutes, Clark was under attack. And aircraft that had taken years to build were destroyed in a matter of minutes. 12 B-17 Flying Fortresses had been destroyed. Around 40 P-40 fighter aircraft had been lost, along with dozens of other planes. And in just a few hours, more than half of America's air power in the Philippines had been wiped out. I'm just going to cross over and walk on the other side because I think I'm going in the wrong direction. I got that sense. It's been a while since I've been here. Oh, and there's a Japanese restaurant. So in just a few hours after the attack, Japan had achieved exactly what it wanted. Without control of the skies, defending the Philippines had suddenly become far more difficult. So yeah, I think that's pretty interesting that that Pearl Harbor was only part of the story. And the attack on Pearl Harbor wasn't designed to be a single isolated strike, which, unless you've actually looked in the history books, you might not know. And because Hawaii is on the other side of the international date line, the attack on Pearl Harbor happened on the morning of the 7th of December there. I think there's like 17 or 18 hours difference between Pearl Harbor and Clark Air Base in the Philippines. Even though, as the crow flies, you know, it's not. It's because the timeline goes around the other way. And from what I understand, it had been planned as a simultaneous strike. But due to weather, the planes from Taiwan, which I believe was called Formosa at the time, couldn't take off due to fog. So there was already news that war had broken out, circulating, before the Japanese pilots actually made it to the Philippines. Unfortunately, Clark Air Base, either the news hadn't reached Clark Air Base, or people hadn't decided exactly what to do, but all the jets were on the ground and it was sit and duck territory, from what I understand, and the fleet was just obliterated. But yeah, a lot of history here, particularly in this area. I think the strike wouldn't have been exactly in this area. I don't think the planes were on the ground here, but, you know, 5 minutes drive away. A mile away, within a mile, you would have thought. So then that led to the border war, which I think Japan occupied Philippines from, I guess, shortly after that, maybe 1942, the middle of. I think that Clark Air Base was occupied from, I remember reading something about Christmas Eve, 1941, is when they retreated because they executed a military operation which was to retreat to Bataan. Which would have been easier to defend. So I think that the Japanese occupied this area from, I guess, Christmas Eve, 1941, through to the end of the war. Not many joggers on this path. Good for me. Filipino Kampampangan. Kampampangan. So that's the local cuisine. Consuelo. Right, which way do I want to go? I wouldn't mind going straight down there to see what's changed, what's happening around the back, what shops there are. These junctions stop. Who is first to stop is first to go. That's how I understand it. So the fall of Clark forced the retreat to Bataan. It marked the beginning of the Japanese occupation, and it set the stage for the battles that would eventually bring General MacArthur back to Luzon. General MacArthur. I think he was based in Manila when the strikes happened, as far as I remember. So this was obviously following the occupation of Clark in the Philippines during the war. But when we get to the sort of nearing the end of the war, these strikes, I'm sure, would have had an influence on why the atomic bomb was then dropped on Japan, which brought their surrender eventually. So it might have been a case of won the battle, lost the war. And obviously there's not a lot of irony in that, because there's more tragedy than irony. A lot of tragedy that it's easy to breeze over in a few words. Especially certain areas of that period that need more research. For example, the Death March of Bataan. So I think the US and Philippine army had retreated into Bataan, but they held out for many months, but eventually they had to surrender, and then became, I guess, prisoners of war, not having looked into it. But many thousands died due to their treatment by the Japanese. And that was seen throughout the war in territories captured by the Japanese. And interestingly, after I think the bomb was dropped on Nagasaki, the Japanese emperor surrendered, but he was never tried for war crimes. Now, whether that was part of the deal, I don't know. Other people were. A lot of tragedy. And then Clark, post the war, returned to being its US Air Force base. Yeah, but I thought that topic, since I was coming over here, was worth exploring a little bit. And it's been interesting looking into that, and it's good to know some local history as you're walking around and living in the area. A lot is documented about Pearl Harbor and the naval attack. I'd say less so about Clark and the Air Force attack. I think that was the reason why America was drawn into the Second World War, if I remember rightly, and don't quote me on this because I haven't double checked. I'm definitely going the wrong way round. I think I'm just going to go down to the middle. There used to be little arrows on the ground that told you, but I haven't seen any of those. I have to head out back this way. I wonder if that news of Pearl Harbor, if that had reached Clark Air Force Base, would that have significantly have changed the war? Particularly in the Philippines? Who knows? It was just a normal day that day, and a lot of the pilots would have been, I think they were having their lunch. It's like 12:30. It's lunchtime. All the planes were out in the on the field. Many bombers, and then just obliterated. I think I read that it was 80 to 100 US servicemen killed on that day. So yeah, a tragedy, huge tragedy. It's hard to fathom communication during that time. I mean, looking at what happened following that and where the troops retreated to, and they were spread out throughout Luzon, is like, what was communication like? I mean, we take communication for granted these days. And you see the uniforms that they're wearing, and you're thinking of the heat and everything, water supply, clean water, like how did they get it? Yeah, it can't have been very comfortable. Up this street, which I think is closed off now, unless you're a resident, I would have thought. But I used to be able to bring my motorbike up here, and I didn't see that you could do that now. So these are not the big barn houses. So these look like they could have been post Second World War, whereas the barn houses on the other side, they seem to predate back to the turn of the 20th century. And these ones look more modern again. They look like sort of more, yeah, definitely sort of America in the 50s, more that kind of style. And I could be massively wrong, but that's just what they look like. I'm definitely going to come down here on Saturday and explore the markets on the other side. There's these lanterns in the trees. I'm assuming they were put up during Chinese New Year. They look Chinese. But yeah, that whole period is a very interesting period in history. Tragic, obviously, but interesting, which you then go into the Cold War era following that period, and in China you have the Civil War, which led to the revolution in 1949 and the establishment of the communist government there, which has stayed ever since. Fort Stotzenburg, right. This is Fort Stotzenburg. I think this was established in 1902, if I can remember rightly. So this is when the military base was originally established, 1902, by the Americans. And I'm assuming that is the troops coming in. Right, okay. Stotzenburg Park. Named in honor of Colonel John Miller Stotzenburg of the 1st Nebraska Volunteers, who was killed in action while leading his regiment near what is, I don't know how you pronounce that now, Plaridel, Bulacan, on April 23rd, 1899. Owennagua. Completed in October in the year of our Lord 2003. Right, okay, so the park was named after Colonel Stotzenberg in 2003. So which part is Stotzenberg Park then? Is because this is known as the parade grounds. And I'm thinking Stotzenberg Park must be this, maybe the middle part of it, or the whole thing, I'm not sure. And here we've got some statues of what looks like a battle scene. Cannons and rifles they got there. I might head across the middle because I'm not sure if I want to go all the way around. Although no, I think I'll head across the middle. We've been going for long enough. We've got into a lot of topics. I think I've seen what I wanted to, and just because they're building a fountain, it's not going to stop me. So normally you could walk through the middle here, no issues, but since they're working, we've got to go around the edge of this. And there's a lot of dew in the grass. It's actually pretty wet. I don't think it's rainfall, it could be. It was pretty stormy yesterday. Yeah, so I think on the weekends, or even in the week, evenings, I'm not sure, but you get a lot of families coming down here and picnicking. It is one of the preferred picnic spots in this area. There's also expat football leagues, I think, that play there. Yeah, so I'm just getting back to near where I parked the motorbike, I think. And yeah, it's been good to get into some of the local history and talk about that, but at the same time it is a bit somber because it was such a tragedy. And when you actually get into it, that's when it kind of hits you emotionally and you start to think, wow, all of that tragedy. Oh, nearly fell over then. Slippy. But yeah, nice to come down here, nice to see the parade grounds, the buildings, the barns, the joggers. Oh yay, I might end up going the right way. They've removed those arrows on the floor, so I'm not sure if there is a designated way. I don't feel like going up there. Stay in the shade. Sun's coming out. It's 6:30. I'm teaching some middle school physics at 8 a.m. So I got to get back and get prepared. Okay, I'm almost back on my bike. Thanks for joining me for these steps, and I'll catch you in the next video.